host of the Gridiron.
Fourth and goal to go with the 2. 34 seconds left to go in the ball game. This is the play right now. Takes the snap. Targeted goes in. Targeted all alone. And the quarterback keeps. Wow, what a call. Nobody touched him.
Now, this one seems to match up not too bad for the Giants. Now, the one thing, you can kind of maybe say about this one here, how the Giants, what they need on their roster, how does that stack up? Like, we need a defensive tackle, right? Well, it's a good class for that, right? So how are our needs, what we need, is it good picking in the draft, or is it some slim pickings, right? Now, the one thing obviously would be a quarterback. This is not a, there ain't no Andrew Luck, Peyton Manning, John Elway, kind of, easy where the Giants can pluck one of those quarterbacks. There are a lot of quarterbacks. Maybe one of them might wind up being okay, maybe down the future, with some good coaching or something. But it's not a super duper phenomenal quarterback class. But the Giants do have obviously other needs than quarterback, right? And it's not a bad class for that. Not a bad class for that. So how the Giants draft needs stack up to the strengths in this draft class. The 2025 NFL draft class has depth at several positions of need for the New York Giants. And I'll tell you what, it's like if the Giants are really lacking in an area, never hurts to double dip. If you can go in there and get yourself maybe a starter or something like that, and then double dip and get another, never hurt. With the 2025 NFL draft class less than a month away and pro days wrapping up, more analysts and teams are starting to finalize their big boards and determine where they can potentially grab talent to fill in any remaining needs not covered by free agency. Mason Cameron of Pro Football Focus recently released a report card ranking the depth quality of each position group. For the New York Giants, there is good news and bad news. The good news, right, is that this class is deep at positions that remain a glaring need for the Giants. These include offensive tackle. It all depends. Because the Giants have a Luminor for this season. Certainly could bring him back for next season, but it would not be bad, if it all depends. You don't know what they plan on doing with Evan Neal. I'd love to see him try to guide guard, but you don't know. But the Giants could certainly use maybe a nice tackle. That's for sure. They got edge defender. That I guess PFF gives this draft class, their edge defenders, they give this draft class an A+. This tackle class, they give them a B-. Right? And the interior defensive line, yes, they give this draft class an A-. They need somebody next to Sexy. They've got some depth. They brought in some depth pieces and all that stuff. And they don't have somebody. I'm not saying we need somebody next with the starting caliber of Sexy Dexy, although I wouldn't mind that. But they need somebody that can put in there, right, and right next to Sexy, right, who can relieve some of his pressure. That would be phenomenal. But though the Giants signed 2 veteran offensive tackles in free agency, James Hudson III and Stone Forsythe, both swing tackles, who really haven't graded out very well. Hudson is signed for 2 years and Forsythe for 1. When one also considers that Jermaine Illuminor is entering his final season of his contract, it would not be a stretch to have the Giants grabbing an offensive tackle in the draft who can be groomed for a future starting role at right tackle. And just once again, it's why it's so important to hit on your draft picks, right? Because we drafted tackle a couple of years ago, and the guy can't play tackle, right? It's not very often in the history of the NFL, right, where you can literally say, you add up the two, a team's starting offensive tackles, right? You add up their draft position and it come up with an 11. That don't happen very often. Not very often do you have 2 first-round picks at tackles. Not often do you have 2 top 7 picks at tackle. Well, the Giants got 2. Well, they hit one out of the park with Andrew Thomas, although we're not sure if he'll ever be able to stay healthy ever again. But they drafted Evan Neal at number 7, and we're not even sure if he can even play guard. We don't even, you know what I mean? That's why it's so important to hit on your freaking draft picks. Right? We shouldn't have to be wondering, oh, we need another 10. No, we shouldn't. Shouldn't. Because we drafted Andrew Thomas and we drafted Evan Neal. We should have our tackles. We don't. Right? So now we might have to go back into the draft again. Or maybe they can, that's something that they could worry about maybe next season if they don't bring Illuminor back. You don't know. Once again, you don't know. But, I mean, next season might be, let's get a right tackle. Right? They have some money to spend, right, for next season. Maybe we can get one in free agency. Yeah, or maybe we can draft one. Maybe they may, they don't need that this season. But if this is a good class for tackles and you want to take BPA, best player available, ta-da, right? Although the one thing the Giants have not really done much of, right, is like taking somebody in the 3rd round, 4th, whatever, and they're not a starter on the offensive line, and they develop them. It just doesn't seem developing offensive line and New York Giants, that's like oil and water. It just doesn't happen. When do we draft offensive linemen and we'll put them on the shelf for a year or 2, and when we need them, we'll put them out there and they'll be good. That doesn't happen. We draft them, we bring them in, and we put them in there. It's like they're either good or they suck. They suck with us anyway. They stay sucky. If they're good, okay. But I mean, although last season, okay, maybe the Carmen Brasilia's, maybe to his credit, Evan Neal was our leading run blocker. I think it was an 80. Of course, he can't pay. He can't pay. But that's a tackle, not a guard. But he was our best run blocker. So maybe we are developing. Maybe. Don't know. Don't the Giants have 5 picks? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yep. Oh, yeah. Basically 5 of the top 100 picks. Yep. Oh, that would be fantastic if we get on them. Absolutely. Oh, yeah. That would really, really be good. Let's see here. Though they added veteran depth at the defensive line, if they can secure the services of a good young 3 technique, right, to line up alongside Sexy Dexy, that would be the cherry on the cake for the defensive line's upgrade. You got that right. Absolutely. Meanwhile, at edge rusher, the Giants seem set on Kayvon, whose 5th-year option is expected to be exercised, and Brian Burns. They've added Chauncey Golston, who can serve as a stand-up rusher. The Giants would add someone like Abdul Carter. Oh, yeah, right? That would allow the coaches to get more creative with their pass rush packages, right? And shave some of the heavy workloads off of Burns and Kayvon's plate to help keep them fresh as the season grinds on. Absolutely. Giants can also use more depth at running back. Yes. You don't got to, was it named Genty or whatever the guy from, was it Boise State? You don't got to grab him. But, you can certainly, grab a running back and pick 105 or something like that. Right? Let's see. They can luck out there if they want to grab a young player who can play a limited role to start, only to move into the running back 2 role behind starter Tyrone Tracy Jr. That young player will replace Devin Singletary, who's set to collect the last of his guaranteed money this coming season. Of course, the bad news for the Giants regarding this draft class comes of what General Manager Joe Shane has called the most important position in all of sports, period, on a football team, quarterback. But there's hope next season. but we don't know if Shane Day will be here next season, right? That position group was given a C minus. So the quarterback group for this season was given a C minus. I don't know what it was graded last season, but apparently, obviously, the group last season was graded out far better than this group here. So last season, I'm guessing the group last season by PFF anyway was graded out probably at least a B. So this year's quarterback class group was given a C minus, with Miami's Cam Ward seemingly the undisputed top player in that group. Ward is largely believed to be the first player to come off the board next month, and his path will take him to the Titans, and I can't blame them one frickin' bit. Then there was Colorado's, obviously Shedeur Sanders. In his assessment, Cameron expresses more concerns for Sanders' limited athleticism and lack of an elite arm as the main reason for Sanders' stock having leveled out. As for the rest of the class, Cameron doesn't paint the rosiest of pictures. Further down the board, we see a myriad of passers with varying skill sets who haven't moved the needle much during the pre-draft process. Usually, you get somebody, like McCarthy, like last season. Boy, he moved that needle, didn't he? I don't know where he was supposed to be, like a third-round pick or somewhere along the line last year, and then all of a sudden we're talking about him being like a top 10. He moved the needle. A lot of times you get these quarterbacks, especially in their pro days or the combine, they do something spectacular, or maybe the Senior Bowl or something like that. They do really start setting themselves apart from the other, and their stock starts rising. Well, maybe Jackson Dart is the one I'm kind of hearing maybe the most. So we'll have to wait and see. But some believe that Jackson Dart also possesses traits to build upon that could warrant a first-round selection after he finished as the top-graded passer in several of, I don't know what that means, but the Giants agree with Cameron's assessment of the quarterback class beyond Ward and Sanders. That could potentially mean the Giants might be planning on a day 2 prospect. Or maybe Dirt will might still be on the board, maybe. I don't know if he makes it to round 2, but we'll have to wait and see. It's been reported that the Giants like Dart, but whether they like him enough to move heaven and earth to select him is another story. Quarterback aside, the Giants should be able to tap into the strengths of this year's draft class to add more talent to those position groups that currently lack it. So, the Giants need, obviously, they could use a tackle. Dart's moving the needle. Yes. He's the one, if any of them, that has kind of moved the needle. Now, I don't know if, how far, I'd be kind of shocked if he makes it out of the first round. We'll have to wait and see. I heard like Milroe, it maybe obviously hasn't moved the needle and nothing like, but I heard he possibly maybe has some potential to him. So it's going to be very interesting to see. Now we're going to be going over quarterbacks in a moment here or two. Not yet, but in a few minutes we're going to be going over the quarterback position. So it's going to be very interesting to see, because a lot of these guys like where they're ranked as far as PFF, they got them like maybe in the third round or the second, third round, and all of that. And so it'd be interesting to see where they actually do fall in the draft.